A 31-run win then for South Africa to kick off this three-match ODI series, and they take a 1-0 lead with the next one in a couple of days' time. 296 eventually were too many for this Indian lineup to chase. It looked a different game at one point when Shikhar Dhawan and Virat Kohli were looking good, partnership of 92 between them. So we'll ask Sanjay Manjrekar exactly where India have lost this. Did they lose it in the first innings with too many runs conceded, or did they lose it with perhaps just not having the chase they would have liked once Dhawan and Kohli were dismissed? Sanjay, how do you sum up that chase?
Just far too many runs to chase, especially in a day game where the pitch wasn't going to get easier for the batters chasing and the ball wasn't going to get wet because of the new factor. So far too many runs on the board. And there was some hope at the start, but then somebody had to carry the bat through the innings. Shikhar Dhawan got out after being said, Virat Kohli as well. It was always going to be difficult. And the thing about afternoon games or day games is that in the second inning, you saw the ball turn sharply to Shikhar Dhawan coming back in Maharaj, and then Virat Kohli mistiming a sweep. So there was still a lot of help for the spinners bowling second. So I think India lost the game when they allowed the opposition to get beyond 250.
There would still be, if you look at that scorecard purely, there would still be those that would say India have chased these sort of scores before, but the new look to that middle order now, and perhaps even KL Rahul's decision to move out of a role that India had looked for him in the middle to open in this series, that whether that can come into question. Now, does that middle order look a little vulnerable to you in such cases?
We said at the start of the show as well, I maintained that it looked a little short on batting when you have somebody like a Rishabh Pant batting at 5 and a Venki Iyer in a very unfamiliar role, for a newcomer to bat down at number 6 on a pitch that's going to be dry and getting slow further. There wasn't much of a threat down the order, so I thought they should have made place for somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav to come in, and Ashwin batted at number 7. So yes, a little thin on batting. I guess a few little tweaks have to be done to make sure that the middle looks a little more wholesome.
Nice to see Shikhar Dhawan, though, comes effectively out of the cold, 37 years of age, does never shows almost, and just goes about his business like he's been playing international cricket non-stop in some form.
Huge fan of Shikhar Dhawan. I've always been, and I've said this multiple times before on this platform, that he's one of those very unique, batters that I've seen who's got better in the last 3-4 years of his career, and that's on the wrong side of 30. And it very rarely happens with somebody plays just the one format now. And you're right, after a long gap, came in and played superbly. I thought that was a fantastic innings. Loved the way he took on Marco Jansen. The spinners as well looked the part, and that's been Shikhar Dhawan's story in white ball cricket in the last 2-3 years. His IPL game has also changed considerably. Only in the field, when he's there, fielding in the deep, you get the realization that this guy is not getting any younger. But when you see him bat, brilliant.
Much like the Test series, does this first ODI tell us something about South Africa, the one-day side, that they may not look as strong as India on paper, but they're not an easy team necessarily to beat in their own backyard?
Good team selection to have 2 spinners in the team. I think that was a good move because Shamsi ended up getting Virat Kohli, and Maharaj got Shikhar Dhawan to set batters out. So 2 spinners made a huge difference. Andile Peklukoya with his slow medium pace should give KL Rahul a clue that he can use Venkatesh Iyer on a pitch like this. I thought the innings that made the difference was Rasif and Dussel. Innings was the difference. And if he doesn't come good in the second one day, is there enough batting for South Africa to post that kind of a score and put India under pressure? Toss also crucial. Team batting first has a certain advantage.
And finally, just before I leave, Sanjay, it's a good evening to Daryll Cullinan. Were the celebrations going on from the stadium next door, Daryll? They called you in as well to hand out some trophies or maybe pop the champagne?
I would love to have been there today, but yes, very good win for South Africa. You have to acknowledge that I thought they played the better all-round one-day cricket. They established partnerships. Their fielding was better. So they can tick all the boxes in terms of how to go about organizing a one-day match. But I must say, I couldn't help thinking after this game that this is probably the most talked up India side to arrive in South Africa, and probably the tamest that I have seen in South Africa. Where's the fight from the Indians? I was so anticipating it. It's just not going their way, and I'm just sensing that they're just lacking that fight that we saw in 2018, where no one could touch them. Maybe a change in the coach or something, but it's not the Indian side I was expecting here.
Wow, Daryl's come in with some fire points as we expect from you. But I can see where you come from, Daryl. I wonder if Sanjay, you want to make a response to that, whether Indian fans are feeling like this is softer than what they're used to seeing from an Indian team against an opposition which perhaps is not the most challenging with due respect to the South African side.
Early days for the one days. I mean, let's wait for the next couple of one day matches to happen,
Sure,
and then we'll
fair enough.
see. Test series, clearly, India disappointing. They should have won that 3-0, considering all the problem that the hosts were having with inexperience and, some of their star players not being there and stuff like that. So, yes, India should feel hurt by the result of the test series, and that is really down to them not addressing their batting issues. One day, this was unlikely. I didn't expect India to lose, but once South Africa got to 193, and I keep mentioning Rassi as the guy who made the difference. And yes, in the ranches, India struggled, but let's wait for a couple of matches before I can be as what should I say, as
As critical as you
attacking
normally are.
as attacking as Daryll Cullinan.
No, fair enough. But let's give more praise to South Africa for today. You think they've played, like Daryl Cullinan says, the perfect one
Yeah.
day game. If you have to look at where perhaps India fell short, was it just too many runs in the first innings, Daryl, and therefore Rajiv Anderdusen deserves a lot of credit for taking South Africa to a comfortable score? Or do you think India was still in the chase with Dhawan and Kohli, and credit more to the South African bowlers that they struck regularly?
Well, South Africa didn't sort of blast their way to 296. As I mentioned earlier, that they'd only scored 22 odd boundaries. It took a lot of good constructive batting, almost old-fashioned type of one-day cricket. And then Van der
Yes.
Dussen did pick up towards the end. So that's why I felt India always had a chance. And at 117 for two, with Kohli going well and Dhawan going well, you sense, well, this is very much on, guys. And they just needed, inevitably, you're going to lose perhaps a wicket or two. But then from there on, they just fell off. And Dhawan's dismissal, it was a soft one. I mean, okay, Virat, I can't ever recall someone towing the ball to mid-wicket. So it's a bit unlucky there. But he looked up for it. That's the great thing. I thought that he really looked up for playing a long innings today. But why I suggest they were quite tame, the rest, you just didn't feel that there was that intensity and desire. And I don't know if it's maybe just another series, more one-day cricket. They've come off a lot of cricket. But it's definitely under Virat, and I'll go so far as to say under Ravi. It's not the same. And there's two left. There's two left. I respect my dear friend Sanjay's opinion, but I just want India, man. Where's that fight? We've all been looking for that extra bit and come and show us the way. But I'm happy. I'm extremely happy for South Africa. I'm happy for Bavuma most of all because he's come a long way. And for him to get 100 and he wins the first one, you've got to feel that bottom line is, to me, I mean, put aside everything else, they're just playing good basic cricket, just getting the right things. And I'm sure that's the focus, and it's proving to be successful.
Right. Just before we wrap things up, though, a nice little fluent Virat Kohli half century. So much that may have gone on in his mind in what's happened in the last few days. Looks like a player who's just doing what he does, Sanjay. It was, again, unsurprising to see him get out after getting in. But even in his bad run, he churns out 50s.
And he turned out a 70 and a 20 in the last test match. So, these guys get judged by very high standards. Yes, Virat Kohli is going through one of his toughest phases of his career, both as a batter, as an individual, former leader and stuff like that. So, yes, this was expected. I mean, Virat Kohli in his weakest state of mind and out of form will still be able to play innings like this. But the difference of Virat Kohli today and a few years back is he would have seen India through. 293. He's played those kind of innings. That's the greatness that we've seen of Virat Kohli. And I think that is hopefully round the corner after he gets his confidence back, plays one of his typical match-winning innings, especially in run chases. So let's hope that happens. But him getting out at 50 is the Virat Kohli of today versus the Virat Kohli of a few years back.
All right. Well, I tell you what, these ODIs come thick and fast. Already the next one on Friday and then the last one on Sunday. So let's see where things stand. One way or the other, we'll have more to talk about on Friday. So big thank you to Daryll, Cullinan and Sanjay Manjrekar. That's all that we've got for you from this first ODI. Perhaps let's wait and see what happens in the second before we do a more detailed analysis like Sanjay points out. Daryll, Cullinan makes a point. Do we see more fight? Can we expect to see more fight from this Indian team? We'll find out as to how they go in a couple of days' time. Do join us then on ESPN Cricket for Match Day.